So for breakfast today, I had bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs are a pretty cheap option across the board, and I think that for me at least, it's a pretty enjoyable breakfast. It definitely was more filling than some other options that we have had to have on other days of the week. But it was very good, and I was glad that I was able to have that. For lunch, I had a peanut butter and jelly with some carrots. Peanut butter and jelly, not very lavish in any way, shape, or form, but still able to fill you up in some way. Definitely not nutritious. The carrots help, but it was still a good meal. And then lastly for dinner, I had tacos with some chips and salsa. I really like tacos. I think they're a really great cheap option. They're super easy and you can mix and match with a bunch of different things that you can put on it. But overall, I really enjoyed that I was still able to eat foods that I enjoyed. And it is nice to have cheap options, but those cheap options are also foods that are very enjoyable.
For breakfast today, I had oatmeal and an apple. Oatmeal is not the greatest breakfast food, but I was able to make it work, and it was filling enough. The apple really helped it taste better, and it filled me up until lunch. For lunch, I had a chicken wrap and some broccoli. The wrap was very good. It was filled with chicken, lettuce, cheese, and ranch. The protein was very filling, and I was not hungry until dinner. Then for dinner, I had spaghetti and more broccoli. Broccoli is a cheap option, but a good option to have as a vegetable. Spaghetti is also always a good simple option to have since it's always filling. Today was a good day with my meals beside breakfast since I'm not the biggest fan of oatmeal, but you have to stick to the budget.
So for breakfast today, I had cereal with a side of strawberries. I really enjoy eating cereal and strawberries, so it was a win-win situation today. Well, cereal is not the most filling option unless you eat multiple bowls of it. It was still a delicious breakfast to have with strawberries. For lunch, I had buttered noodles and blueberries. Noodles are very filling and also a cheap option, and it was able to hold me over till dinner. The blueberries also add to the touch of nutrition, so I can also get my serving of fruit. For dinner, I had chicken and rice. While I did not have any vegetables or fruits, I was able to have a lot of protein and was able to not be hungry again until breakfast the next day. It was difficult to strictly stick to the menu, but in the end, it was worth it.
Overall, this experience was not as horrible as we thought it was going to be. Our family was able to strictly stick to both our budget and our menu for the week. While we might not have wanted to eat peanut butter and jelly or broccoli multiple times a week, we still did, because sometimes you have to do things you do not want to do during hard times. We realized that it can be extremely difficult to stick to what you need to. In our world today, everything is so quick. You're constantly going from work to picking up your kids, to taking your kids to practice, or picking them up from a friend's house. With everything being so quick, it is hard not to turn into an easy route and go through a drive-thru. But the working poor does not have the extra money to spend for a drive-thru, so they have to stick to the budget and only eat the food they can afford. I do think having a strict budget and following a strict routine with food is important though, and shows discipline, because while you might not want to do these things, you still need to be able to provide for your family and keep food on the table.